At 2:17 in the morning. When your room is completely quiet. When nobody is watching. Your mind suddenly brings back a moment you wish you could forget. A sentence you said. A reaction you noticed. A mistake that lasted only a few seconds, but somehow stayed with you for years. You remember where you were. You remember who was there. You remember exactly how you felt. And the strangest part? The people involved probably don't even remember it anymore. Their lives moved on. Your life moved on. You changed. But somehow, your mind keeps going back there. Again. And again. Until you finally ask yourself, why can't I just let this go? But maybe the reason you keep remembering it is not because that moment was important. Maybe it is because of what that moment made you believe about yourself. Most people think embarrassing memories return because the brain cannot forget. Like your mind is randomly searching through old files and bringing back painful moments. But your brain is not randomly choosing them. It is looking for something. Something unfinished. A question that never got answered. A feeling that never fully disappeared. Not, what happened? But, what did this say about me? Because the moment itself can end in seconds. But the meaning you attach to it can stay for years. Think about the moments your mind keeps replaying. Maybe you said something and immediately regretted it. Maybe you tried to be confident, but suddenly felt exposed. Maybe you walked away from a conversation and spent the next few hours analyzing every word you said. You are not only remembering the event. You are remembering how you felt about yourself during that event. You remember feeling seen, but not accepted. You remember feeling like, for a moment, someone noticed a version of you that you wanted to hide. And that is when a memory becomes something more. It stops being just a moment from your past. It becomes evidence. Evidence of what? Evidence for a fear that was already inside you. Maybe, I'm not as confident as people think. Maybe people don't really respect me. Maybe if people saw the real me, they would judge me. The embarrassing moment itself was never the deepest pain. The deepest pain was the meaning you created after it. A mistake became a message. A failure became an identity. A moment became a definition. And that is why some memories feel impossible to escape. Because humans are not only trying to remember what happened. We are constantly trying to understand who we are. Your brain does not just store experiences. It creates stories from them. And the strongest stories are the ones connected to your identity. Someone who makes a mistake thinks, I made a mistake. But someone carrying shame thinks, this mistake revealed who I really am. That difference changes everything. Because mistakes are temporary. But identities feel permanent. There is another reason your brain holds onto these moments. Something that feels almost unfair. Your brain may not be attacking you. It may be trying to protect you. Every time it brings back that embarrassing moment, it is asking, how do we make sure this never happens again? Because being accepted by others has always mattered to humans. A strange look. A moment where someone rejects you. A feeling that you do not belong. Your brain learned to remember these moments. Not because they were the biggest moments, but because they felt dangerous. But here is the problem. Your brain does not always know when the danger is gone. So years later, you can be lying safely in your room. Nobody is judging you. Nobody is thinking about that old moment. Nobody is replaying it except you. But a part of your mind is still there. Still trying to fix it. Still trying to create a version of yourself that would have avoided the embarrassment. And maybe that is why these memories return when everything becomes quiet. Because silence removes distractions. And when there is nothing left to focus on, your mind returns to the stories that still feel unfinished. But there is something most people misunderstand about embarrassing memories. You are not actually trying to forget the moment. You are trying to escape the version of yourself connected to that moment. The person who failed. The person who looked foolish. The person who felt small. The person you decided you could never become again. And maybe that is why letting go feels so difficult. Because somewhere deep inside, letting go feels like accepting the person you have spent years judging. Think about your younger self in that moment. The version of you who made the mistake. The version of you who felt embarrassed. The version of you who thought everyone noticed. If that person was standing in front of you today, would you judge them the same way you judge yourself? Would you tell them that moment proves something is wrong with you? Or would you see something else? Someone learning. Someone trying. Someone who did not know what you know now. Someone who was simply human. Maybe the reason you still remember that moment is not because you cannot move on. Maybe it is because you never looked at it differently. You keep asking, why did I do that? But maybe the better question is, why did I believe that moment defined me? Because the memory was never the real prison. The meaning you gave it was. The next time your brain brings back that embarrassing moment at 2 a.m., pay attention to what is really happening. Your mind is not only showing you the past. It is showing you a belief. A belief about yourself that was created during a painful moment. And maybe that belief was never the truth. Maybe it was simply the explanation you created when you did not understand what you were feeling. Because the person you were in that moment was never your enemy. They were just a version of you trying to survive something difficult. They were learning. They were changing. They were becoming someone. And maybe they never needed your judgment. Maybe they needed your understanding. So maybe the goal was never to erase the memory. Because some memories do not disappear when you stop remembering them. They disappear when they stop controlling who you believe you are. The moment lasted seconds. The shame lasted years. But the meaning was always something you could change. And maybe tonight, when your mind returns to that old memory, instead of asking, why am I still stuck here? You finally ask, what part of myself is still waiting to be understood? Because maybe your brain was never trying to trap you in the past. Maybe it was waiting for you to finally see yourself differently.